Welcome to today's Jersey Baseball Show. It's Mike Olshan along with University of Virginia Juco transfer JOE MICELI from North Jersey. We are happy to have Joe on the show today and hear Joe's amazing story of graduating high school, throwing 82, barely getting a D3 or getting a D3 opportunity, working his way all the way up the ladder to transferring to University of Virginia and one of the top programs in the country. So let's get right to it and can't wait to hear the journey, and welcome, Joe.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I think this is a great way to start the year. Great episode to start 2022 with as guys get ready to begin their own journey, for the season, whether it's high school, whether it's whatever level college they're at, or, pro ball, and, just kind of talk about your situation. And first of all, your first year here at UVA after 2 at Bergen. So let's start with that, the transition to the ACC and Division I baseball, and how did the fall go, and how are we ready for the first spring season?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like when you go from a small JUCO to a big time school, it's definitely a different transition. It's easy to get lost and stuff, but you just got to keep your head down, focus on what you need to. And I mean, I'd be lying if I said at the beginning I didn't get a little lost, between the academics and then juggling the baseball with that. I mean, the biggest thing for me was the difference in academics. UVA is a hard school, and it was definitely, I went from a JUCO where I was like, okay, I'm on top of everything. I could take all these classes, and it's 3.9 GPA. To when I got there, I was like, wow, I might actually struggle here. So it's I had to focus a lot more on schooling. And I think that was good too, because I made me appreciate the baseball side of it more. Because the second you step on that field, the only thing you care about is baseball. It's the only thing you're focused on. It takes your mind away from all these other issues and things you have to worry about. So I mean, it's definitely big that. Helps you appreciate the baseball side more, and I feel it makes you want it more. When you're thinking about it, and you're yeah, it's it shows me now. It's yeah. I want my future to be in baseball. I can't stand sitting in a classroom for hours a day. It's I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. It's just you're sitting in that classroom and it's your mind starts wandering. You're not really paying attention. It's what's the one thing it goes to? Baseball and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's definitely I had to straighten myself out, make sure I was really focusing in class and getting my work done, which I did. It turned out well. Ended up doing really well in the classroom, which was the biggest thing for me. Then, obviously, more importantly, the baseball side. I think I was able to show people that, yeah, going from a small JUCO to a big time ACC, it's the transition can be done, and it's we can small JUCO kids can fit in at these big time programs. I mean, I went out there, I handled myself on the mound. I'm not going to say I put up superstar numbers and I was amazing, but I definitely showed I can handle myself at that level of play. And I mean, I'm really looking forward to the spring, going out there and proving myself even more. And I'm excited. I can't wait to be able to step on the mound again and face hitters. It's every day when I wake up and I go train and lift, the one thing in my mind is literally just pitching. That's the only thing I'm thinking about. Looking forward to facing hitters, proving what I can do, and showing that, yeah, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Because like you said, going from 82 my senior year of high school to now being up to the mid 90s and playing at this big time school, it's I mean, it's a journey for the ages. Not many people can say they've done what I did. And I mean, to the other few people that can, I mean, it's all the respect in the world, because it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing when you go to a big time D1 out of high school to get better. So I mean, it's definitely a journey that I've loved so far, and I can't wait to keep it going.
And you've got, it seems now UVA has become North Jersey South, right? With you're coming in Devin Ortiz there for his 5th year. You've got Kyle Teal, obviously. You've got Aiden Teal coming down next year. Donovan Zach, who we just talked to from St. Joe's Metuchen, to be a freshman next year. So you're probably noticing a pretty strong North Jersey, New Jersey influence down at UVA.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think that's something I see in a lot of southern schools now is they're looking more to the Northeast because like early in the year when it's cold, it's like we phew, even
Thrive. You guys
high
thrive in.
school, the Juco, my time at Bergen, my first two starts of the year at Bergen in 2020 and 2021. First game of the year. The first one, it was 20 degrees and started snowing, and the second one was 30 and windy. So it's like you want to talk about like being used to the cold and like that weather. And then yeah, like the Northeast has a lot of talent. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, but the Northeast has a lot of talent in baseball. And I think schools are finally starting to see that and they're taking chances on these kids in the Northeast. And now these Northeast kids are uh, doing very well, and it's like putting Northeast on the map, kind of. They just have to give those kids a chance. But yeah, no, it's kind of funny too, like talking to those other kids from like Kyle, Devin, Anthony, and Billy, or all the other kids from New Jersey. Like I played Devin and Kyle in high school. Uh, Neither one knew who I was when I went there, and like that just that one that says. Uh, about me what I was like in high school because I'm completely different. But also, it's like you're playing these kids, and it's like kind of cool to see. It's like I saw Kyle as a sophomore in high school, and now I'm seeing him as a sophomore in college, like seeing the difference. I
Mhm.
saw Devin when he was a senior in high school, and now I'm seeing him as a senior in college. So it's like it's kind of cool because it's like it's reconnecting with these kids in the past. And it's like when you're in New Jersey, it's like everybody knew who Devin was, where he was going. Everybody knew who
Right.
Kyle was, where he was going. It's like now it's like you're there, and I'm like, wow, it's like I'm in the same locker room as these kids. It's like they're my teammates now.
Yep. Now, and you kind of alluded to it. Nobody really knew Joe Micelli when it was graduation time at in Indian Hills, and I think that's
No.
the really cool thing about this story. Is for everybody out there who is either doubting their journey or thinking that there is no chance, there's no hope. Um, your story is really special in that you were not highly recruited out of high school. I mean, guys who are under 140 pounds and throw in low 80s really aren't, obviously. Had a D3 opportunity and a good one with a great regional D3 program in DeSales. But most of your development came from, after the start of senior year of high school on to the point where now you're, 93 to 96 MLB Draft League pedigree, high spin rates, offers as a JUCO from a lot of different places. But, not even until really you got to Bergen. So talk us through that journey and explain to guys why, just because they see other people have bigger offers now ultimately doesn't mean anything if you're willing, if you keep going after it.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I have to say with what you just said is you can't look at what other people are doing, what they're doing, because everybody's different, and you can't say, "Oh, well, if this kid does this, I should be able to do this," because it's just not how it works. And if you're saying that to
Right.
yourself, you're just putting yourself in a bad mentality and a bad mind spot. But the biggest thing too is having faith in yourself. I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And it's like, quite frankly, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or like what they have to say, because what it comes down to is yourself and what are you going to do. And we actually have this quote at Virginia that I love. It's like, what do you do when nobody's looking? Uh, and I mean, that goes for people at the top in the pros. What are they doing when they're by themselves? To that kid like me in high school who's just hoping for a chance to play at a 4 year after this.
Right.
Um, so the biggest thing is have faith in yourself. And I mean, realistically, if you fully believe in your ability and you're putting the work in, things will happen. Everything will fall into place. Uh, and as far as me, I remember sitting, I want to say it was actually Thanksgiving break when I was at DeSales, and I was talking to one of my old club coaches, and he was asking me how it was, how the fall was, and everything. And I was like, "Oh yeah, it was great. Like we played, we were playing Georgia. We played George Mason at the end of September. That was our we drove down Virginia, played them, uh, and so I told him all that. Told him I threw in the fall, and he's like, and I remember him looking at me. He was like, something tells me it's like I'm missing part of the story. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, I just feel like you're not fully there. And I guess like what I realized what he like now what he meant is that it's like I was happy to be playing at a 4-year, but also I know myself and he knows me very well too. Is like I'm never satisfied with where I am. And he was like, we'll talk more. He's like, go back, go like finish your finals. We'll talk more when you come back from winter break. So came back. I was throwing just normal stuff, pens, doing my drive line. I remember we sat down again. He talked. He goes, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but the only thing I could say is like you need to do what's best for your future right now, and what you believe is going to be best for your future. And it's like where you think you're going to go to develop and become that player. Cause he's like, I'm going to be honest. He's like, I'm not saying this because I like you and I'm close to you. He's like, there's something about the way you throw where I see there's a future in baseball. It's not just like he's like, what was the word exactly? So there was a game that summer before I went to DeSales where it was actually my first time getting up to the mid 80s. And it was the first time like he's ever seen me there. I remember I was up to 85 that game. And he was like, I remember when I came off the mound, he was like, you look really good. And he's like, I don't know what it is, but something looks different and I like it. And so fast forward to that winter again, he was like, you have to realize too, like you're a small kid, but you're still generating these like velocities that are high for your body size. Like I said, I was 5'9", 140 pounds, and I was up to 86 in that fall. And he's like, for your body size, it's like that means you have an electric arm. Like your arm has to be live. You're not generating it through your legs. You're not generating it.
It's not forced.
Big strong guy. It's
Yeah.
like so there's something in your arm that's allowing you to do that. And he basically said, he's like, you have to make the decision now. It's like, do you think if you stay there for 4 years, you're going to reach your maximum potential? I remember I said to him right there, I'm like, honestly, no, I don't. Then he goes, well, there's two things you could do. He's like, you can either really train this winter and try to jump your velo up now and then maybe transfer right after the season or go to a Juco. And I remember at that moment, I said I was going to try to train somewhere to transfer to a different 4-year after. I wasn't going to go to a Juco. Then as time progressed, I remember my first bullpen right before going back onto campus, I was 86, 88, and that was now the hardest I've ever thrown. And so I was like, okay, things are working well for me. I'm like, my velocity's kicking up now. So I'm like, I'm just going to try to transfer 4-year after. And then in the spring, it went back down. I was more in that 84 to 85 range, touching 86. And then, so I got back for summer ball and I was like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to go to junior college. We're going to go to Bergen and we're going to see what I could do there. And my reasoning for that too wasn't because I didn't like DeSales or like, I didn't think they were a good program. But like I said, like I'm never satisfied with where I am. And I always am like looking for more out of me, which is a good trait, but it's also a bad trait. But I think it's more good than it's bad. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to Bergen. If I end up going to another D3 after, I don't gain any more velocity. I stay 84, 86, touching 88. Then you know what? At least I could say I went out and I tried and I put myself in a position to excel. But I'm like, on the other hand, I'm like, who knows? Like, what if? And actually, it's funny because now I think about it. When I left for the winter break and I talked to my coaches at DeSales, they said, what do you feel like you need to work? And I'm like, oh, put on weight. And like I was going to do drive line. I'm like, I see all these stories of it's like kids go from mid 80s to mid 90s. I'm like, I'm not saying I'm going to be the one going to mid 90s. Like in the back of my head, I'm like, I am kind of saying that. I'm like, I have the faith in myself. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it. And that's exactly what happened. I went from that mid 80s to that mid 90s at Bergen. And it's like, that brought me a great opportunity at Virginia and a great opportunity in the draft league and even a great opportunity from Bergen to potentially get picked up. So, I mean, I just think it's funny though, how like all those things connect. It's like, there was me 2 years ago in that office with my coaches talking about my winter training, saying that, I might go to mid 90s, and then now I'm there.
Almost like you talked it into happening.
Yeah.
It's now. Do you have 4 years of eligibility if necessary? How are we? What are 3? What COVID does so many weird things.
Yeah, from my understanding, I know I used one at DeSales, and then from my understanding, COVID year we got back, and then when we played last year, since our season was canceled in the beginning and we only played half a season, they said we would get that one back too.
Right.
But how the NCAA interprets it. But leaving JUCO, I technically had 3 years of eligibility, so
3
I'm
years.
going to use a second one this year.
Okay. So the whole story, I mean, it's just, does it, I don't want to say, does it not feel real? Because obviously you're the one going through the whole thing, but does it make you appreciate some of these opportunities more, do you think, than had you been what's been the typical, hey, in ninth grade, I've got my, I've made my verbal and because your path has been different, do you think you appreciate it more than most people do?
Definitely yes. And that's like not a knock to other people, but I mean, like when you're able to say, I basically flipped like my life around in 2 years, rather than like, okay, growing up, like, oh, okay, yeah, this kid has a good arm. He might do something good and gets to high school. He's 85 as a freshman. Oh yeah, he's gonna be really good. I mean, it's like I was 82 as a senior. There were freshmen throwing harder than me when I was a senior.
Yeah.
And so it's like you definitely do appreciate it more because like when you're in that moment and it's like you're like, okay, I finally got a chance to play at a 4 year. I have like my D3 offer. And you're just happy to be playing at a 4 year. Like you're not really thinking. I can't really say I'm not thinking about after college because at that time I was, because my mind was always like, I'm gonna make goals that seem so unrealistic. But if I achieve those things and I put in my mind that I can achieve those things, I will. So I mean, as far as appreciating it, it's definitely different than I think if I was a big time recruit out of high school, which I mean, I think about it sometimes. I'm like, like what if I threw like mid 90s my junior year of high school, and it's like, I'm like, where would the difference be? And like, I always think about it. I'm like I don't want that though. Like, I wouldn't want to change anything I've gone through.
Yeah.
It also shows people, it's like, all right, this kid's dedicated and he's determined to achieve stuff. And I mean, I think it's like something that you can't take away from me ever either. It's like, even like if God forbid, like nothing were to happen with the draft, I wouldn't make it anywhere else, which I mean, like I'm saying, all my thoughts are towards that. And like, that's what I'm hoping
Right.
for. But it's like, you can never take away. It's like, wow, this kid did all like changed his life in 2 years.
Yeah. It's got to be empowering to you even like an outside of baseball thing. Cause everybody says that, speaks those words or at least kind of thinks those words. And I don't want to say it's meaningless, but obviously going through and doing it and experiencing that change has got to be like empowering to any obstacle that anything that you're going to have the rest of your life that, I can, and I have done this before.
Absolutely. And like, that's something I could carry like literally forever. Like you just said, I mean,
Yeah.
there's only a handful of guys that can say they've been down the same path I have. And that's like there's a reason for that too. It's not because these handful of people got lucky. It's because these handful of people just put their head down, started working, and knew what they wanted, knew what they wanted to achieve, and they were able to do it.
Yeah, we're talking with JOE MICELI here, University of Virginia now, North Jersey, Indian Hills High School, Bergen Community College, and again now UVA, and getting ready for the start of the 2022 season. What are you most looking forward to in playing ACC baseball, other than obviously being at Virginia?
I mean, just the level of competition that I'm going to play at. I mean, just like I said, going to the draft league and that level of competition, I love being around those guys. I love being around my teammates now. It's like when you're playing at a high level of competition like that, it feels different when you're on the mound. Like, I don't want to say the game speeds up because I don't think it does for me, but it's like the adrenaline kicks up. Like, you get more excited for starts when you're playing those big time teams. And it's like, these are the teams you watch on TV. ACT. Let's say we're playing Louisville. It's like you're watching Louisville play Vanderbilt in College World Series 2 years ago, and it's like, yeah, it's like now I'm standing here throwing against them.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of a surreal feeling, or like what I would think it would be is going to be a surreal feeling. It's like wow, like these are the teams I grew up. I grew up watching Virginia. I grew up watching Virginia Tech on TV, Miami, Florida State, and it's like now I'm actually there pitching against them. And it's like I feel like it just gives you that extra edge. Like now you want to do better. It's like you want to shut them down you want to shut down anybody you pitch. But the fact that you grew up watching them and it's like, wow, it's like this is big time baseball. It's like it makes you want to do even more, and it makes you just want to like really dominate even more.
Yeah. And you got to pitch for State College in the original year last summer in the inaugural year of the MLB Draft League. Say, maintain the velo, mid-90s, great spin rates, caught a lot of people's attention. What did you get from it? What did you get out of that whole draft league scenario and kind of the process of that summer?
It kind of showed me to one, like it was modeled to be like after what a minor league season was like. So I really got to take away. It's like, all right, when I'm in the minors, this is what's going to be like. It's like, this is how the days are going to look. These is like, it like kind of like lets you like realize too. It's like, yeah, like this isn't that easy. You're playing every single day. You're at the 6 o'clock game. You get to the field around 2. You don't leave till like 11. You don't fall asleep till 12. Then you got to wake up the next day, do it all over again. You get one day off a week. It's like that's your one day you really get to like sleep and just relax. But it's like it shows you it's like this is something you have to love. Like if you don't love baseball and you don't love being at the field, you're gonna hate playing professionally. And it's easy to say you want to play professional baseball, but like when they put you in that environment, like you could see it's like all right, I could tell it's like these great athletes have a hard time lasting because they're like this is hard. Like this is definitely something that if you're not mentally ready for it or like you're not mentally tough to be able to go through this, it's like it's gonna beat you down. But another thing too was making adjustments don't need to be immediate. Like I remember there was one team I played against and I think I let up 7 runs in 2 innings. And then when I went out, I actually ended up pitching against them by like 5 times. And after that first game, I was like, you know what? Every time I go out, I just want to get better. I don't need to shut them out for 8 innings now. I need to limit it. It's like I let up 7 runs in 2 innings. I'm like, bring that down to 5 and 3, 3 and 4, and something like that. And actually ended up happening where the next start, I think I let up 4 runs in 4 innings. Then the start for that, it was 3 runs in 5 innings. Then the last time I ended up throwing against them, it was 1 run in 5 innings. And it's like, I'm like, that was like a big learning moment for me because like a lot of people are just like, all right, I have to make this extreme adjustment right now. Next to my pitch, I have to shut them out. It's like, no, you don't. You have to work and get better each time. Because if you can get better each time, then there's going to be a point where you can't, not that you can't get any better, but it's going to be a lot harder to get better next time. So like in my eyes, if I threw against them again, I would have been 6 innings, no runs. And that's just the trend, and that's just the confidence I have in myself and my mentality and my thought process on it. That's where I would have ended up with those results.
So what's the big focus for you this offseason? Because, as much as you probably would want to be 6'3", 240 at this point, be able to just kind of, use your force to throw 100 miles an hour, you're never going to be that pitcher. It's always going to be, the ability to move fast down the hill to get you to throw hard. So what's your focus to, maintain and grow that velocity and otherwise, what are we working on?
Just fluid mechanics. I mean, mechanics can always get better, and I feel like that's the biggest thing because I think that was the biggest thing for me. Or one of the biggest things for me that COVID year was actually my arm slot because like if you saw me throw before 2020, I was like straight over the top up here, and it's like now I got with Evan, he brought me down to around this arm slot right here, and just the fluidity of my motion just drastically changed. Like I was able to get rotational power now with that. So it's like as far as gaining velocity, it's keeping my arm fast and keeping my body fast and just making sure everything's firing at the right moment. One person I actually love to watch because we're the same body type was Yordano Ventura. He's 5'11", 180, so he had 10 pounds on me, but I mean, it's the same body type. Like, if I put on 10 pounds, we're the same. He had an electric arm, rotated, moved fast, and he wasn't a big jack guy. He used his body properly. So it's like if there's somebody I definitely watch, it's him and like his mechanics. But at the same time, putting on strength in the frame will absolutely help. I mean, just what people don't realize is like you can put on strength and not gain 20 pounds.
Right.
Like I said, it's like my deadlift, my squat, my chest press has all gone up tremendously. And I've maybe only put on 10 pounds since then. But now we're talking 150-pound difference in my deadlift and 100-pound difference in my squat, like 30-pound difference in chest press. So definitely that. And just intent to throw. I mean, like a lot of people say they want to throw hard, but don't understand. It's like you have to have the intent to throw hard too. It's like they're I don't want to say you're too like focused on mechanics because you can't be too focused, but a lot of people are like, okay, if this back hit doesn't fire at this exact moment, it won't throw hard. It's like, no, if your mechanics are slightly off, but you have the intent thrown hard, your velocity won't go from 94 to 90. It'll go from 94 to 93. Like
Right.
that's it. So, and the biggest thing too is trusting myself. Like, yeah, it's late December now. Why does what I'm hitting in a bullpen now matter for me
Right.
this season? So it's like not getting crazy. That's like, okay, I'm throwing a pen. I'm only 88, 90. It's like, no, all right, that's a good spot to be at now. I mean, like from here, I have 2 months to get where I need to be. And if I'm 88, 90 now, just think a week adding a mile an hour. By that time, the velocity would be where it should be. And I mean, even more than just velocity, the big thing for me this winter is really focusing on off speed and getting stuff that will play well off my fastball because that could make that 93, 95 look like 97, 98 if I could spin anything and throw a nice changeup to go with it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And that's the difference of, a 1-inning outing and probably a multiple inning, 4 or 5 innings, right?
Absolutely.
Especially at that level. New Jersey's got a great junior college tradition and a number of great junior college programs, right? And you obviously went to one at Bergen. What would you say to anybody, considering that Juco route here in New Jersey and what kind of difference ultimately did it make for you?
You can't go wrong going JUCO. I think it's the best thing you can do. And quite frankly, if you don't have that offer at a high school that you're really wanting, and like if you're not 100% ecstatic of where you're going to be going, I would say go to a JUCO and then just work. And you don't know because it could change your life. And another thing though is don't go to a JUCO and expect people to give you the work for you. Like go to a JUCO and put the time and effort in yourself. Like if you go to practice, then you're going to the gym right after and you're doing your stuff after. That's what's going to make you a good athlete, not just doing what the school gives you. So it's always putting in that extra work and going that extra mile after. But yeah, I mean, New Jersey JUCO is some of the best JUCO in the country. And I mean, you can't go wrong going to Bergen or one of the other JUCOs that we offer.
Absolutely. Now was Virginia your favorite ACC school growing up, or did you have somebody that you kind of rooted for more that have to be an enemy now?
Growing up, I don't even know if the ACC was my go-to conference because if you asked me in high school where I wanted to go, it was Coastal Carolina. That was the school I wanted to go to. Then obviously that never happened, and like things never planned out there. But it's like as like you get older and stuff, you start to realize like, oh, like these schools have good programs. You start looking at it, like Virginia has an amazing baseball program. Coach O'Connor is great. Coach Dickinson's great. Coach Mack is great. Coach Kirby, they're all they're all there for the players, and like they want to see these players succeed. And it's like when you're in a program like that, you just can't go wrong. But yeah, I can't really say I've ever had a favorite ACC school. I mean, when it came down to like watching the College World Series, like, all right, I'm gonna look at the two teams. Which one do I like better? It's as simple as that.
Well, it's good. Now you can hate them all equally.
Yeah.
Excellent. We appreciate the time, Joe. Love the story. Love the example that it's set for people. And obviously not your intent necessarily, but certainly the example that it's provided. I'm certainly proud to have you rep New Jersey down at UVA, and can't wait to see how you do this year.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Certainly. Joe Miceli, our guest today, Jersey Baseball Shows. We start off 2022 with the great story, and we look forward to catching everyone next time.
Thank you.